Okay, so this syllabus today is the 5th Kyu Senior, so that's going for a full purple belt. We're going to go through the Kihon basics. We're going to go through set 3, which is what you need for this grading. You will need to go back and look at set 2 and set 1, and also remind yourself of Gohon Kumite, so the 5-step sparring. But for this lesson, we'll just do the set 3 that you need. We'll also go through the Kata. There is a separate video coming for Heian Yondan of how to learn the Kata, but we'll just go through the moves. We'll do it slow through and then we'll do it some time and count. Again, forgive the stances in this for a little bit because we're doing it in the front room. So with the basics, whether it's your sets or your kata, if you need to adjust your stances, do, but please make sure you're practicing those long stances as well. So if you only have limited space, making sure you're stepping forwards and backwards as you need to get that stance, but also then when you come into the dojo, use that space that you've got to make sure you're getting stances properly. Okay, so onto the Kihons, the basics. So we're going to start off with Sambon zuki. Sambon zuki is three level or 3 consecutive punches. So you've got a Jodan punch, which is not quite full Kazama zuki, but it is a slight twist of the body, because then when you come in for your second punch, which is a Gyaka zuki, you're able to push that hip in. So it's make sure you get the good wide stance, so nice and long, not excessively wide or excessively long. Make sure that you get that good stance, you can get that hip pushed in, because a lot of the power in karate comes from the hips. So we're going to do Sambon zuki. When you do your kiai, make sure you kiai on the Gyaka zuki. It's the strongest technique, so that's where the kiai comes in. So, into yoi, stepping our left leg forward into Gedanbarai, and we're going to come forwards against Jodan, and then 2 Chudan punches. Make sure we're not going too high for the Jodan. We're not fighting giants, it's your face that you're going for. So you can aim for the forehead, you can aim for the nose or the chin, but make sure there's a difference. So for Jodan here and Chudan just below the shoulders. There's not a huge amount of difference, but make sure there is a difference in height. So from our Gedanbarai, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And again, 1, 2, 3. And then we'll go backwards. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And again, 1, 2, 3. And then yami. Okay? So we'll do it again, and the timing for Sambon zuki is Jodan, Chudan, Chudan. So it's 1, 2, 3. Okay. So stepping down, left leg forward. And 1, 2, and 3, and backwards, 1, 2, and 3, and back, and ready, thus. Okay, so that's your Sambon zuki. Moving on to the combinations, so we're having to change sides on this one. You don't put a Gedanbarai on the end of these basics. So you're going to do Ageuki, Maigeri, Gyakuzuki, and then stop on the Gyakuzuki. So it feels a bit weird, but you're changing your hands each time. Okay, so from Gedanbarai, we come forwards. Ageuki, back leg kicks Maigeri, as it lands backwards, Gyakuzuki. We then change hands to step forward. Ageuki, Maigeri, step back Gyakuzuki. And again, Ageuki, Maigeri, Gyakuzuki. And again, we'll kiai on the Gyakuzuki. So we'll go forwards and backwards now. When you practice this, you might go forwards and backwards, you might be asked to turn. The main thing is listen to what your instructions are. You should be doing 5 of them. Again, when you're practicing, it could be 1, 2, 3. It's however many you've got space for, but you could be going forwards or backwards. Okay, so from yoi, Gedanbarai. So we're going to do Ageuki, Maigeri, Gyakuzuki. And you're really pushing that power through because we're doing the kick, and then as it lands, that's when your Gyakuzuki is coming in. So 1, 2, and 3. And backwards. 1, 2, to remember when you're doing this combination is, again, we've got the timing on it, but we're doing those halfway positions, and that's what's going to help the transition. So let's go sideways on for you. From our Gadambarai, we come halfway. So we're pointing out and our foot is starting to come forwards. We then come through with the Aguki, back leg Maigeri, as it lands Gyakuzuki. Okay, so thinking that this hand's pulling back, as this hand's coming in, so everything is putting the power into that move. Alright? So the next combination we're going to do, this one does feel a little odd, and you need to remember to be turning the feet. So we're going to do Soto Ryuki, Yoko and Puchi, Urakenuchi. Okay? We'll work on the feet in a moment, but you need to make sure though, we are looking at stance changes. So from our Ganambarai, we come forwards halfway here. So we're coming through for the Soto Ryuki. We're then going to pull the front foot back, so we're in front stance. We're going to pull back halfway, so we're sliding our hands across. We're then going to slide sideways into Kibirachi. We're doing Enpi-uchi, so the elbow's coming in, fist is tight to the chest, nice straight wrist. Other hand comes Hikite, so you're pulling that in, squeezing the shoulder blades together. So, from our Ganambarai, Soto Ryuki in front stance, make sure this comes across, pulling those shoulders back. Coming up, slide sideways for the Enpi-uchi. The hand that's just done the Enpi-uchi comes out, Uraken. So it comes across and then twists at the end, so you're doing a back fist, and then pulls back. Now to do the next move, we have to turn our front foot. Okay, so we're going to turn, come to that halfway position to get into Soto Ryuki. Pull back, Enpi, Uraken. Okay, so we're doing the stance changes, and we're not going to rush it. So you've got to make sure that you get those moves in properly. So what we don't want is that, because we've gone straight into Kibirachi, and that's no good to anybody. So from Yoi, down into Ganambarai, and Soto Ryuki, Yoko Enpi, Uraken. Turn that foot, come halfway, keep stepping through, front stance. Soto Ryuki, Yoko Enpi-uchi, Uraken. Okay, and we'll do that forwards and backwards. So we're going to do it 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3. And then backwards. 1, 2, and 3. And then yummy. Okay, so 3 forwards, 3 back. To do the ki on this one, you'll do it on the Uraken. Okay. We do add extra combinations on as you move up, and then you get a Gyakuzuki. For now, ki on the Uraken. Okay, so nice and slowly done. We're now going to do it full speed. So Ganambarai, and 1, 2, and 3. Tick, and backwards. 1, 2, and 3. Hey, and yummy. Okay, so that's your Soto Ryuki, Yoko Enpi, Urakenuchi. And the Uraken, all of these are Chudan. So Soto Ryuki, shoulder height, Enpi, just below shoulder height, Uraken, you're extending the arm, so again, just below shoulder height. So the next one we're going to do, we're going to change our stances again. So we're going to do Uchi Ryuki, Kizamazuki, Gyakuzuki. So again, we're changing our hands as we transition between the combinations. Whereas on set 3 Chudan basic, so on the set 3 Chudan, you don't change stance, it's all in front stance. On your basics, it is a stance change. So you do your uchi ryuki in kokutsurachi in back stance. We then change into front stance for the kazamazuki. And kazamazuki, we don't want to be going swimming. We don't want the head down. So it's not this, across, okay? It's making sure that it comes out. So it's a snap, it's a kazamazuki, it's a front snap punch. So it's an inside block and it's snapping, it's coming straight forwards. So we don't want to tip our heads over. So we'll go through it nice and slowly. So from Gedan Barai, we're going to step forward into kokutsurachi, uchi ryuki. We then change, so we're not actually lengthening the stance, we're just changing the width of it. We're going to change into front stance for our kazamazuki, and then gyakuzuki on the spot. We're then going to step forward, so this hand is going to come to our hip. So we're going to step forward, uchi-uki in kokutsurachi, change to front stance for kazamazuki, gyakuzuki. Okay? And we'll do 3 forwards, 3 back. So from yoi into Gedan Barai. And 1, 2, and 3. Hey. And then backwards. 1, 2, and 3. Hey. And yummy. So, as with all the other videos, if you need to, just pause, go back, repeat. So the next one we're going to do is Shutoki, Mai Kazamageri, Nukite. So we're going to do Shutoki, so knife hand block, Mai Kazamageri, so it's a front leg snap kick. You're trying to get it Chudan, but you don't have to. It's more of a feint, it's a distraction. So we're going to aim for Chudan, but don't worry if it doesn't get that high. So from kokutsurachi, Shutoki to start, step forwards, Shuto. We then do a front kick and land in front stance. So changing from back stance into front, but you're doing a kick in the middle. So stepping down and 1, kick, nukite. And you're pushing your hip in and pulling the other hand back, and the other hand comes into a fist. 2, and 3. And then backwards. 1, 2, and 3. And yummy. So we'll do it again full speed. So full speed is your high speed. And high speed, it's the combinations that are high speed, not just get there and back as quick as you can. Okay? So, into kokutsurachi, and 1, 2, and 3. And backwards. 1, 2, and 3. And yummy. And breathe. Okay. So the important thing with all of these is we're changing stances. So on our soto ryuki, we're going from front stance to kibarachi. For our uchi ryuki, we are doing back stance into front stance, just as well for our shuto ryuki. So making sure on all of these that we've got a good front stance or a good back stance, sinking down into that back stance. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is we're starting to bring our kicks in now, and this one changes. So you'll do one set going one way. When you turn, you'll actually change and do something different. So we're going to do Mai Geri, which is Chudan, and then when our foot lands, we're going to land with an oizuki on the way there. When you turn and go back, you'll do Mai Geri, gyakuzuki. Okay, now for the purposes of this, we'll do Mai Geri oizuki, reset, and then we'll do Mai Geri gyakuzuki. But again, like we did for the Agiyuki, Maigeri, Gyakuzuki, once that foot lands, that's when the punch has to come in. It's all about the timing, because if you've got a kick and your foot's still halfway up here, but you've punched, there's no power in it. So it's got to make sure that it lands at the same time, okay? So, need to get into Zenkutsudachi. So we're going to do a Maigeri. As we land, the foot that's kicked, that's the hand that punches, Oizuki. So back leg kick, it lands forwards, Maigeri, Oizuki. And again, Maigeri, Oizuki. Okay? So, into Zenkutsudachi. And we'll do it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay? There's no point trying to do it backwards because it's nigh on impossible to do. So this time, what you would do is you would turn on the spot. You'll be instructed Mawate, so you'll turn, and then you'll do Maigeri Gyakuzuki. So from Zenkutsudachi, we do a Maigeri. Instead of the same hand, it's the opposite hand. So done the kick, Gyakuzuki. Back leg kick, and then Gyakuzuki. So you're pulling that hip in for the punch. Maigeri, Gyakuzuki. And unless you're told otherwise, these are all Chudan punches, Chudan kicks. So from Zenkutsudachi, we'll do 3 times. And 1, 2, 3, and yami. Okay? So the next one we're going to do is Rengeri. You've got a few of these. So the first one we're going to do is Rengeri is alternate kicking. So you're going to do a Chudan kick followed by a Jodan. So you may only get 1 or 2 techniques depending on your space. You need to make sure that, just like with Jodan and Chudan punches, when you're doing your kicks, they are different heights. If you are warmed up and you're flexible, you'll get a Jodan kick and you'll get a beautiful Chudan kick as well. But we need to see the difference so we can see that you understand that they are different kicks or different heights. So from our Zenkutsudachi, we're going to do Chudan to start with, and then land. It's followed straight away by the next one, which is Jodan. Okay, so Chudan, Jodan. All right. And you want to pause between each combination. So from Zenkutsudachi, so we're going to do Chudan, Jodan. 1 and 2. And then your Kyu in the last one. Now, with this one, like we did with the Maigeri Oizuki and then returning with Maigeri Gyakuzuki, this time you're going to do Chudan, Jodan there, and then you'll be instructed to turn, Mawate, and you'll do Jodan, Chudan. So you're changing the height of those kicks. Because again, we need to see that you're partly listening, but also making sure that you've got that height difference. So from Zenkutsudachi, so we've done our Maigeri, which is Chudan, Jodan. We're now going to do Jodan, Chudan. So 1, 2, and yami. And there shouldn't be any problems with Maigeris. You've done a lot of them by now, but making sure you're getting those kicks coming in properly. So the knee is coming up, kicking out, pulling the toes back, pulling that knee back down, and landing. Using the hips to push forwards with that kick and get that extra distance. Really think that you're pushing through on these kicks. So the next thing we're going to do is Maigeri Mawashigeri. So obviously if you're inside, be careful. Again, Chudan kicks. And from Zenkutsudachi, we're going to do a back leg Maigeri, land. And then the next one comes in. Remember to bring it up to the side, twist as we get to the end, flip for the Maigeri, use your hips to land back in front stance. So then it's Maigeri, Mawashigeri. Okay, so again, really important that we're using the hips in this. And then as you go back, you'll either be asked to do Mawashigeri, Maigeri, or you'll be asked to do the same. So just listen for instructions. So from Zenkutsudachi. So 1, Mageri, Mawashigeri. 2. Okay, and then you'll turn and go back. So this time we're going to do Mawashigeri, Maigeri. Okay, so chances are you will be asked to do Maigeri or Mawashigeri, turn, and then Mawashigeri, Maigeri back. Okay, so from Zenkutsudachi, we come through with the Mawashigeri, hips to bring back to front, and then Maigeri to land. So from start, and 1, and 2, and yami. And now we're going to do Maigeri, Yokogeri, Kekomi. So this is the thrust kick. Again, it's going to be Maigeri, Kekomi there, turn, Kekomi, Maigeri coming back. And you'll find one of the combinations is more favourable to you than the other. Everybody's different, so some people find the roundhouse or the thrusting kick easier to do first, followed by the Maigeri. Everybody's different though. So, Zenkutsudachi. So we're going to do our Maigeri, and then come through. So you've got to pull your knee up and round. Get yourself into that basic position. So normally we do it from Kibarachi. And from here, thrust through. Get yourself into that halfway position. These are really, really important kamais. The kamai is a ready position. You've got to make sure you're in that ready, because otherwise your kick won't come through properly. So, Maigeri. Use your knee to bring yourself round. So I'm now ready to do a side kick. Thrust through, and then land front. So again, we're using our hips to come through. So, Maigeri, bring it up and through, thrust, hips, and then land. So we'll do that, we'll come back and reset, and then we're going to do Kekomi, Maigeri. So, 1, keeping an eye on the front, 2, okay, so reset. Obviously you've got space, turn and go back and do the same again. And now Kekomi, so we're going to use our back leg to come through for the thrust, followed by Maigeri. So 1, and 2, and reset. And make sure you're practicing each of these a few times. So that's all of our basics. We're now going to move on to our Kumite, our sets. You do need to remember, as I said at the start, Gohon Kumite, set 1, set 2 as well. But set 3 is what you need for this particular syllabus. Now, set 1 and 2 and Gohon Kumite, they all have 3 attacks. Jodan, Chudan, Maigeri. Which the Maigeri should be Chudan as well. With set 3, we're adding on 2 extra techniques. So we've got Jodan, Chudan, Maigeri, Kekomi, and Mawashigeri. So all of the attacks come in, and you will do it both left and right side. So it's a Jodan, to attack, you step straight back, Chudan, and we're pausing. As soon as you've done your attack, you stop and you stay there. Come straight back, Maigeri, and then back again. This time Kekomi, so we're aiming forwards and again using our hips to land if we can in front stance. So Kekomi comes in, and then step back, and then Mawashigeri. Okay, and then the other person goes. But you will need to do it both sides. So we'll practice the defences both sides. So the first one we're going to do is set 3 Jodan, and we're starting to use the angles a bit more now. So we're going to step off for the first side. So the first side is going to be attacked with a right attack, so it's coming in here, and I'm going to step away from it. So I'm going to step away. Going into high sokodachi, so my toes are together. It's the highest stance we've got. Legs are together, toes are together, but instead of having our hands at the sides, we're actually going to do an ageuki. So we step off to the side, here's our halfway, as if we're doing an ageuki normally, but we pull away on the angle. So we're 45 degrees from the attack. This is more of a just in case. We're going to do a Yokogeri Kiagi, so it's a snap kick. As we land, so it snaps, as we land in, come back to this halfway, and then MP, and that's the counter strike. So we've done the defence, we've moved out of the way, Tai Sabaki, we've moved our body out of the way. Agi here. Kiagi. Come back to this halfway, get your hands ready, and land. And we're trying to get our knees as close together with theirs as we can. So if that's their legs here, we're really trying to get into the back of their knees. The theory being that you then put your hand in front of them, you can straighten your leg, take them down. Which, if you needed to, you could do, but past sets we don't do that. So Jodan, we start from Yoi, attack comes in from their right, so to our left hand side, step out the way, so we're on the outside of their arm, Kiagi, MP. Okay, and your Ki is on the MP. For our Chudan, it's just like our basics. So when I said earlier on, you're doing some in front stance, some in back stance, your Kion basics are in back stance to change to front stance. For your sets, it's not. You must stay in front stance the whole time. So Chudan punch is coming into my left hand side, step back, Uchi-uki. We then extend in with the Kizama-zuki, Gyaku-zuki. It's the Gyaku-zuki pushing that hip in, and that's where we're getting the Ki. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this is where you really, on this particular one, you really need to make sure you're attacking on target, because if you don't, it's really hard to get that block to work properly. It is a good block and it does work, but you need to make sure that your partner is attacking you properly, because the amount of times you end up punching somebody's arm because they're not punched in the right area. So that's your Chudan. My Geri, we're actually going to do Juji-uki, so it's an X block. We pull into the chest and then we strike Jodan. And we're actually going in for the neck here. So we're going to block the kick, and you're actually blocking it just before it comes in. So the knee comes up and you're stopping it before it comes in. When the kick comes into your left, step the left foot back. Otherwise there's a tendency they might land on your knee, so step it back out of the way. Okay? So we block down, pull in, and then strike. If you need to step in because you've not quite got the distance right for the strike, then do, but it should be down, in, strike. Okay? And you can drop forwards if you need to. So the kick comes into your left hand side, left foot steps back, pull in, strike, and you're going just underneath the chin. So that's your Jodan, Chudan, Mai Geri. So for Kikomi, we're going to do, the kick comes in, here, and then land. All we're going to do is step straight back, Soto-ryuki, Gyaku-zuki. Now it should be a Chudan kick, therefore the Chudan block will work, but you'll adjust it. So if it's a high kick that comes in, you'll end up doing a slightly higher block. What you don't want to do is, if it's a lower one, is lean into it. Drop the block, but don't put your head down. The last thing you want to do is have your head in the way of a Kikomi kick coming in. So we're going to step back with our right leg, Soto-uki, Gyaku-zuki. Nice and simple. The Mawashi Geri, we're going to track it. Okay. So as it comes round, so the Mawashi Geri is coming this way, and you want to get out of the way of that. We're just going to pivot on the spot. So from Yoi, we're going to move our right foot sideways. I'm going to turn 90 degrees. From Yoi, sideways. Okay? We're actually going to do a high one-uki. And again, it should be a Jodan really, but adjust it to wherever the kick's coming in. Because you're stepping out the way, this is more of a just in case. So coming across, high one-uki, and then Gyaku-zuki, and you're pretty much facing their torso at this point. Particularly because once they've done a Mawashi Geri, the tendency is to land in Kibadachi rather than use the hips to get back to front stance. So because they're here, you end up with their full stomach available to you. So for the Mawashi Geri coming round, high one-uki, Gyaku-zuki. and then back to yoi. So we'll go through each of those, and we'll do it on both sides. So do make sure you're practicing both sides, and then we'll go on to the kata. So from yoi. So jodan, to the side, kick, elbow. Chudan, front stance for all of this. Uchiuki, kizamazuki, gyakuzuki. Back. My geri, so stepping the kicking leg, that's the light side stepping back. In, strike. Then you've got the kakomi coming in, so sotuuki, gyakuzuki, yoi. And now we're going to step our right foot out to the right for our mawashi geri coming in, haiwanuki, gyakuzuki. Okay, so the other side, we're going to step this time the attack's coming in with a left punch to our right hand side. So we're going to step off to the right, kyagi, enpi. Chudan, so uchiuki, kizamazuki, gyakuzuki. My geri, so this time it's a left kick to your right hand side, so we're going to step our right leg back, jujuki block, pull in, jujiuchi to strike. Sotuuki for our kakomi coming round, so left foot steps back, outside of the kick, gyakuzuki, and back. And this time, because it's coming round this side of me to my right, I'm going to step away to the left. So haiwanuki, gyakuzuki, and then back. And your kiai is going to be on the MP, on the first one. For the chudan, you're going to do it on your gyakuzuki, kizamazuki, gyakuzuki. My geri, it's on the strike. Kakomi is on your gyakuzuki, and then mawashi geri again is on the gyakuzuki. So the kata, Heian Yondan, it's the fourth one of the Heian katas. So it's Peaceful Mind level 4. And it starts very similarly to Heian Nidan. So we bring both hands up to the side in Heian Nidan, they come up quickly with fists. This time, we're going to step into back stance again. Our hands are going to be open, and it's a slow move to come up, okay? One thing to remember, which you'll see when we do the video for Heian Yondan, is that we don't pull the hands up and drive them down. They're from yoi, which is just in front of the hips. We're stepping out, so it looks like they're going off to the side. The hands look like they drop, but they're open. So from here, they go down, and then count of 5 to come up. We're then going to block both hands down and change the other way, and then 5 to come up. Cross the hand over, so the left hand drops across to the shoulders, jujiuki down. I'm going to step forward, marotuuki in back stance, pull up. Kyagi Arakan, land in front stance for your MP. Pull up, looking the other way. Arakan Kyagi, MP. We're going to do a Gidan Shuto. So this should be quite a wide stance here. Okay, so Gidan Shuto, other hand to the head. Twist on the spot so you are wide. This is like an open-handed agiyuki, and this is striking neck height. We'll do a back leg kick, pull it back, so it has to come back. Open hand, so tail sayuki, hand over the shoulder, step forward, uraken, and we're in kozadachi, so we're crossing our legs. Okay, so that's the first half. So from here, left foot steps out behind, striking up. So from uraken, left foot step, I'm going 45 degrees, steps out, up, into kakiwaki-uki. So it should be elbows tucked in to your sides, fists shoulder height and ever so slightly wider than your body width. What we don't want is straight arms, bent wrists. We don't want them way out or really high, okay? Tucking the elbows in, and it's only a narrow gap there. So come from our uraken, straight into back stance. Do a back leg kick, and then as we land, oizuki, gyakuzuki. Pull back, so we're halfway, and then the right foot steps out into back stance. Kick, double punch. Okay? Once we've done the double punch, we're going to do back stance Marotte uki. So the left foot moves across. And again. Then again. Now on this last one, here, so we've gone left, right, left. We're in back stance. We changed front stance here. And you grab it, think that you're grabbing somebody's head. Okay, so it's your head height, your head width. Not massive heads and not ridiculously high again. We're now in front stance. Pulling that right knee up for hizugeri, so it's a knee strike, but you're pulling the hands down at the same time. Strike. As we land, we turn and land shuto. So we've done our Marotte uki, hizugeri, turn, so you're in that halfway, land backwards into shuto, and then step forward, shuto uki, and then yame backwards. Okay, so I'm going to do the kata again, all the way through. We'll do it nice and slow, and then once you can do it through at full speed. When you're doing it full speed, remember it's the time and count, so you're getting those little combinations coming in. So from yoi, and 1, 2, 3, 4, pull up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and that's your kiai. Now I've got a kakuaki uki, so 1, 2, 3, 4, Marotte ukis, 1, 2, and 3. Change to front stance, grab the head, hizugeri, that's your kiai, turn, shuto, and shuto again. And then yame. And bow. Now, you'll have noticed as I came back, I had to do a foot shift rather than a proper step to try out space. So, with Heian Yondan, you will always end up a step further forward than where you started. So it's a good way to start, in position, Heian Yondan, and then take a nice big step forwards, because then you're positioning yourself better. So, medium to full speed all the way through. Heian Yondan. Hajime. And yame. Feet together, and re, us, and yoi. Obviously with all of this, I've gone through each one to show you, explain a few bits. Make sure you pause, go back, repeat, and do whichever bit. If you get stuck on a particular one, just keep going through that bit, okay? There will be a Heian Yondan video of learning it step by step, but you will also need to remember Heian Sandan, Heian Nidan, Heian Shodan, and Takioka Shodan. So you need to make sure you're practicing all of those as well. So that's the end of it. Make sure you're practicing them all through. I'll say repeat as you need to. Go back to previous syllabus, because it's always a good way to practice your basics as well. And then you've got your sets and your katas within there. So, put together, and re, us.